welcome to everybody. I say people are still joining, so I'll have to keep my eye on that. We've had apologies from Richard Teal, Sue Birtles and Brenda, who can't be with us tonight. Has anybody got any other apologies? No, nobody's waving a hand, so I presume not. Okay, the first item is the minutes of last year's AGM. I had a look through them tonight. I don't think there's anything particularly contentious there. Is everybody happy with last year's minutes? If you all nod your heads, we can approve those as okay. Yeah. This could be a quick meeting. Then moving on to reports, I'll say a few words in the annual report. I think one of the things I think we all got tied up with COVID was we tended to think this has been with us for months, which it has to a certain extent, but there was a lot of stuff went on, and in fact really most of the COVID online scouting activities we have been doing since March will run into next year's AGM and annual report. So it was quite good to ask groups to send in reports to see what had been happening last year from March of last year, and to show that we'd had quite a good year in terms of groups carrying out a range of wide range of activities. From the exec's point of view, I think one of the highlights of our year was the invite, an opportunity to hold one of our meetings at Chetham's. As all of you know, Chetham's have a scout group attached to North Manchester now, and because of the difficulties of them being able to get out, etc., we don't really see a lot of them. So yeah, it was nice to go and actually hold an exec meeting there, meet Gareth, who's the GSL, and one of their explorers who gave us some a musical interlude, but also to hear about what else is going on at Chetham's, which is quite active considering the limitations they have in terms of where they are and what they can or can't do, because obviously some of the more adventurous and dangerous activities are prohibited as they're all possible musical stars of the future. But that was good, and the plan was that we would perhaps hold GSL's meeting there during the course of the year, which I think we're already starting to think about, but obviously it never happened because of the lockdown. So that's something I think we need to pick up next year to try and bring them back into the district as much as we can. So that for me was one of the good bits of the district. Other than that, we were as you know, all in the midst of planning for another St George's Day activity to build on the success of the year previous, and we'd actually got most groups engaged. We had quite a lot more activities. Everything was going well, and then I think the danger signs started to appear and things didn't come off in the end. But hopefully we've got a chance to build on that again next year, and we'll pick that up again. So I think that's sufficient to cover what I had to say in my report. I think Louise, I think we need to just pass over to you now, if that's all right, just to say a little bit about the Treasury report. You had a big year last year with the Jamboree, so you might want to say a little bit about that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. The main thing last year was the Jamboree. All funds came in, which is fine, passed over to the county, and I think it all went off very well indeed. So that was good. I was quite pleased to see that we managed, as we've asked groups to do, to look at their insurance and assess what equipment they've got. Well, we did that with the district, and we managed to reduce our insurance by about £300, which was good this year, just by working out. We seem to have just kept renewing some insurances, not realising the equipment we'd got, so that was good. And the other main thing was collecting the membership fees, and thank you everybody for getting your money in and everything. Because of COVID, we sort of did delay paying it at the end actually, but that's, if you look at the accounts, it looks weird that we've not paid any membership fees before March, but they got paid 4 days into April, so we have paid everything across the county. And that just to remind everybody that the district does have a small amount of budget to help groups if possible, and the applications can be just contact me to get the application, and it then goes to the finance subcommittee. We do try and honour everybody that asks for it, but we do scrutinise it all as well. So most things do get funded, if not after a few questions. So if you do need any help with anything, please come to the just contact me. I'll send you the application form. And thank you for all you're doing in the groups with the money and everything. I know it must be hard at the moment, and different groups are at different stages with the COVID, but as Walt said, most of that will come into next year's reports. We just have to see how we get on. I think that's
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Lovely. Right. Thanks, Louise. Is there any other member of the exec who's here tonight would like to say anything to add to the report in general? Please wave now or hold your peace. Okay, right. Moving on to election of this year's committee. I did circulate last night the proposed list of people, which I'll put on screen shortly. I think I've managed to find that one. Just to say a little bit about how things have moved forward this year. One of the other things we attempted and proved reasonably useful, I think, was to invite people to join the exec during the year as observers. I think one of the problems we have when getting people trying to join committees is they don't really know what they're taking on board. So we sort of left it open to people to join if they wish to. And as a result of that, we had a few people joined. Paul McRae, who's with us tonight, was one of those who joined as an observer. But his chair, John Pykos, Colin, who also joined us during the year, who's here tonight, also came as an observer. And Jack, who came along, I think he didn't realise what he was going to end up as, but I think we're slowly getting there. So of those, Jack and Colin and John have now well, agreed that they will sit on the committee in a formal status. So on the paper that was sent out, they're down as new members joining from tonight. I haven't contacted Kieran, who was another co-opted member, if you remember. Kieran replaced, I've forgotten his name, the chap from the academy. I think until we get back into normal scouting and back at the academy, I think we just have to leave that, because it's useful to have a link at the academy, but at the moment that's a bit more difficult with other things that are more urgent for us. I also sent out a nomination form through the whole NM email system, and only one nomination came through, which was from Bob and Karen for Jean Cowell. And again, Jean had attended a couple of meetings when we were talking about St George's Day. Jean's involved with the guides. So I think she'll be a very useful addition to the committee in terms of having a link with the guides in North Manchester. And hopefully when we do get round to planning for next year's St George's Day, we'll be in a good place to have her on board and moving things forward. Okay, so I'm going to just stick the list up on the board on the screen now, hopefully. Where is it? There. Okay, so this is the list as we have at the moment, which again everybody has seen. Because of the difficulties we are in at the moment, I think what we're saying at the moment is everybody happy with that list, and can we elect or ratify everybody on that list as a member of this year's exec, so we can actually start to move forward. Thanks, Neil. I'll take the share screen off so I can see everybody. Right, is everybody happy with that? Yay! Yes, good, good, good. Right, I mean, it's good to have, we've got a bit of new blood. That's how things have to move, I think, in Scouts. You have to keep moving a few people in each year, and you try and move on and get more people involved. Okay, right. from memory, I think we're probably on to the DC's report now. Now, I know Catherine was struggling to put anything in the annual report, but if everybody's happy, I'd quite like to ask Catherine if you could like to just say a few words about final few months before everything else hit the fan, shall we say. Okay, Catherine, over to you.
Good evening, everybody. Yeah, where do I kick off? I kind of said my goodbyes at the last AGM, so the formal bit was done there. And as you're all aware, kind of the summer months took over with Jamboree, and then the handover with Neil. So you know, scouting kind of had the summer break, and people went on adventures, and obviously the next adventure for the district was to change over the leadership to Neil, which I can only apologise, Neil, because as you took over, kind of the globe went into chaos, didn't it, really? So sorry, apologies about that. What can I do? But I think I timed it right.
I could, of course, blame you for it all.
True. Well, they didn't bring anything back from America, so we're all right there. Apart from a lot of tired young people and leaders. So yeah, the kind of the highlight for me for last year was the event that was held in Heaton Park, and it was quite, you know, I'm sure everybody was disappointed that we couldn't have it again this year, because it was something new and something different. So hopefully, if we get back to some normality as and when that time next year, we can perhaps pick up on that.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so from one district commissioner to another now, so I'd like to hand over to Neil, who seemed to grasp a chalice of several poisons. I think it's not just one poison at the moment. There's several out there, but I'll let Neil explain that one.
Well, my bit of this AGM is short and sweet. I'm going to save my main comments for Section 8 on the AGM, but in terms of took over January the 1st, and now we shut down in the middle of March. I mean, what can you do? We did have lots of things planned. It's been difficult, and I'll expand on that a little bit more in a short while in terms of the future and where we're going. Tricky times, it's different, it's unusual. I think we're definitely going to need a wholly different approach to scouting come whenever normality returns. I'll just leave it at that for now, Walt, but I can't really report on any activities and stuff because we were just in the process of working through restructuring of the district executive, working through the restructuring of the district team, as much as it is, and that's still very much in process. And again, Jack, apologies, I haven't got back to you, but you know, a few things going on at the moment. But we are starting to pull together a district team. I'm working very closely with Walt on how we restructure the executive. But everything we've done up until March basically went out the window because the whole thing's completely different now. So I'll leave it to that for now. I'll come back to you in point 8.
Okay, right. Thanks very much for that, Neil. One thing I've probably skipped over a little bit was the appointments committee. We didn't have a separate report, but I did include something in my report. I'm just wondering if Mike, you'd like to say a few words about the awards, because people need to know what we were starting to do and the work you already started on before everything sort of got to shut down. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we've had a small subcommittee for the awards. We haven't actually been able to meet once again, mainly down to COVID, and we sort of started this at the end of February, beginning of March. So we haven't had a proper meeting yet, but we have sort of started looking at all those who've had 25 years plus sort of scouting within North Manchester District or within scouting itself, and looking at see what awards they might have had or should have had over that period, and breaking it down a little bit to make sure they've had all the training in place, making sure they've done all the safety ongoing and safeguarding ongoing, so on and so forth. And we've come up with about 8 or 9 names, which we've now gone back to some DC, and not to DCs, GSLs, looking to get some sort of feedback from themselves so we can actually write them sort of awards up. So we haven't had a meeting yet. We'll probably have a Zoom meeting at some point, but we are ongoing with that, but it is in its early stages.
Lovely. Thanks very much for that, Mike. Okay, I think we're probably on to the county commissioners' input now. Is that correct? If anybody's got sight of an agenda, so I'm trying to find it on my phone, but I can't find it. If everybody's happy, I'll hand over to you, Steve, and Phil, you may want to come in and say a little bit from the chair's perspective as well. So over to Steve first.
Yeah, I think asking everybody if they're happy at the moment is a bit of a retrospective question. I think we're all best we can say is we're really coping. I mean, all I can say first and foremost is thanks for all you're doing during this challenging and interesting time. It varies from some groups have decided to take a bit of sabbatical, which again is entirely up to them, and some have been really, really active online. And quite frankly, having been involved in a few of those, it's much harder than getting together in a scout hut and having a meeting. So well done. I don't know how we do it. We're doing it at county level, trying to wade through this ever-changing cycle of COVID recommendations has not been easy, that's for sure. And one thing's for certain is hopefully one of these days Gilwell will catch up and work out exactly where they stand on the whole thing. So we all live in hope, but there we go. I can report from county that we have and we are discussing with your deputy county commissioners and your DCs various ways of helping you guys. And before Phil passes out and starts rolling around the floor screaming his head off, I'll be he's gone. Yeah, I'll possibly let him have a chat in a second. But it's not all doom and gloom, and I think that as we start to see changes coming about, and I think we'll see some quite remarkable scouting. And I see this as an opportunity to get back to grassroots scouting. The groups that I do know have had risk assessments passed are having a bit of a problem at the moment. A couple of groups in particular were planning on doing Saturdays and Saturdays throughout August, and they are now having to do Saturdays and Sundays throughout August because they put a bit of a shout out to the first section to look at was explorers, and they said, look, you know, we've got to socially distance in bubbles of 15, so it's first come first serve. So the first 15, first 10, because we need leaders. 37 people replied within 25 minutes, so it's caused a bit of a bottleneck, to say the least. But somehow they're going to work through it. And I think one of the things that I will say about this time is that it's causing us to rethink about adapting to our environment. And if I'm sure of one thing, I'm really, really sure that Scouts are experts at this. On a national level, I am asking the chief executive where he spent £45 million over the last 4 years. At the moment, the answer is I don't know. And that's not coming from me, that's coming from them. But as we know, Scouts is going through a bit of a tough time at the moment. For those of you that have had the online meetings inflicted on you, I mean, you've all attended those meetings. It has been a bit of fluff, but all I can say is bear with us. At county level and at county commissioner level, we're not taking what's being said lying down or with a pinch of salt. So we will try and get answers wherever is possible. But once again, thanks for all you're doing. And Phil, have you got anything you want to add to any of that?
I don't think so. Thanks, Steve. It's
you git.
Yes, I know. I was waiting for that bit.
Yeah,
no,
no.
Again, big thanks all round. It's extraordinary and it's quite ridiculous. I've been enjoying it really because it's the longest holiday I've had in 50 years. So I'm actually promoting lockdowns.
You're retired.
Yeah, I'm retired, yeah. Although you wouldn't think so, would you? I just want to make one comment, and that is that it's clear from all these webinars we've been having and round robins from HQ that there is a huge emphasis being placed on training and training being up to date. I think there are implications in that for executives. And when I've got my head around it all, because I'm not saying this publicly because people will laugh, I was told off by the county training manager for not doing one of my courses. But anyway, I won't mention that openly. But I think there are lots of implications for executives in what's now coming through there. And I'll try and do a note on that when I get my head around it in the next 3 or 4 weeks. So welcome all those new people who've joined the executive, because I think there's a lot more work in the pipeline in addition to everything we've had. But as the CC says, we'll get there. We've done it before.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay.
On the training issue, just to finish off, Walt, we have had communication from our Lord and Master, Mr. Kidd, personally, about some of the stuff that they perceive as a bit of an issue at the moment. For example, they're wanting us to do lots and lots of getting started courses, and I did say that we are probably the only county in the country that's doing them online at the moment properly. And they are sort of talking to us about training, and as it happens, they're merrily stealing our training team to do their online training. So one of the things I will say is that one thing that's been a godsend through the whole thing has been 365, the training team, and some of the new equipment and stuff that we've got, such as the training portal. If as GSLs you've not seen that, and I would suggest you get your hands on it quickly, because it's an absolute work of art. It really is, and it's saving us hours upon hours of time. The good news is, for the first time ever, it makes Compass tell the truth, which is great. So there we go. So thanks for coming tonight. I'll hand over to Walt, and hopefully we'll be done soon. Yay.
Yeah, okay, thanks very much for that, Steve. Just wanted to pick up, you just mentioned about the support county can give us in terms of moving forward. I think one of the things that a lot of groups are worrying about is the whole membership fee, census issue, in terms of making sure groups maintain their viability over this difficult period. So I think any support you can give us and any strength you can add to anything against HQ, who sometimes have a different view of who can pay and who can't pay. Bearing in mind, obviously, some of the areas in which we work in North Manchester, which has to be taken account of, and bearing in mind the levels of unemployment we're going to have in the next few months. So I think if we can work with county to get that message over to HQ that there are parts of the country that are going to really struggle and will need support, hopefully we can do something together. Okay. Neil, you said you wanted to come back with a few things, so can I perhaps pass over to you now, if that's all right?
Thanks, Walt. It's just a few things, some of which have just been touched on. Just for the groups to start thinking about your finances in particular. What I don't want throughout all of this is to have any group close. Now, that may well mean they stay open in a different format than they are, but it's better to remain open with 1 or 2 sections that they can sustain than lose a group completely. So that's something perhaps all groups need to think about. Those who know me from my days at the 434, Dave will definitely know we had to take the very difficult decision at one point to close the scout section and focus on beavers and cubs, because the group was in trouble, and within 18 months we were back to 18 scouts. So it's about focusing your resources where you need them to be. So that's something to think about. It doesn't apply to every group, but I suspect a lot of scouts in particular will not be coming back after the summer, September. It might even be January, in which case who knows how many are coming. You need to also think about very clearly about your finances in relation to the census, which is in October this year, with payment due in April. So think about that, what that means for your finances. In terms of Zoom meetings, Walt, I prefer this, certainly on environmental terms, to not having, what have we got, 29 people driving into a central location. This works just as well. Okay, yeah. Maybe there's not a bar, well, you know, we can sort that out somewhere or other. So I think Zoom meetings for this particular thing for executives and the AGM is working really well. And I know Walt's works really hard making sure this conforms with the rules that are laid down by the Charities Commission to make it a legally valid AGM, which is why it's recorded, so we can record all of the ayes and noes. So thanks for that, Walt. I know you put a huge amount of work into it. The other thing is training. Those of you who are GSLs will no doubt have been contacted in the last week and a half about this pretty urgent get your getting started and mandatory ongoing completed. Karen's done a fabulous job in collating and contacting people. Please please do not think headquarters are not serious about this. If it's not completed by 30th of August, leaders will be having their roles ended early in September, not suspended, ended. It means you're no longer a member of the movement. So if you can encourage people just to get on with it, to Steve's point, most of getting started in this county is now done online. So there's no real excuse. First aid is a bit of a problem, but I think we've got a 6-month extension for the practical bits from once scouting restarts again. So again, do the online bits of first aid. If you've not done it, do all the other onlines as well. And after that, apart from that, I just want to say thank you to everybody for everything you've been doing. This is just such a different time, and this is certainly not scouting that any of us have ever experienced before. So thanks to all those that are doing Zoom meetings, thanks to the district team that are sharing with Manchester South on their programs. Scouting at home, that's doing really well. But if we can just carry on what we're doing, to Steve's point, to the others, we will get through this. We went through a period in scouting just after the Second World War where the Scout Association was skint, as in almost as skint as we are now, and we survived. But yeah, that's the question, Steve. 45 mil in 4 years. I'd love to have had a go at spending that much. That'd have been great.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've no idea where that's gone. The problem we've got is neither does the board.
That's a concern. And you wanted to go on that, did you?
Yeah, well, I'm running for the board at the moment, but this precise second in time, I think I'm running from the board.
I would. Tarnish with the same brush and all that.
Absolutely.
Okay, so again, thank you, everybody. Primary message throughout all this, it's going to be tough. I don't want any group to close for any reason whatsoever, because reopening a group once it's shut is much more difficult than rebuilding sections with what you have. So again, thank you, everybody. Let's have a good year in scouting somehow, and let's try and work out what normal actually means in the coming months. I have no idea at the moment. So again, thank you. Have a good evening.
Okay, thanks, Neil. Right, well, coming to the end now. Unless anybody's got any other business, if they have, they can wave their arms about. That seems all right. Yeah, I'd just like to add thanks to everybody who's already said thanks tonight. I mean, that everything everybody's doing to keeping things going. You know, still got a long way to go, but we're getting there. We just need to take a measured view on how we get there and what needs to be done. One thing I would say is communication. It's one of mine and Neil's particular issues. Like tonight's meeting, I did ask people, and thanks to those of you who did respond, to say, are you going to join the meeting tonight? Because I needed to know in terms of who's going to be here, etc. But people are not good at responding to emails. We've still got a lot of people not on the NMD email system. Now's the time to do that while you've got a bit of space. If you've got any problems, myself and Neil would be only too happy to help you out to sort that out. But we've really got to get to a point where we have effective, direct return communication with every group in the district if we're going to move forward. Because a lot of the stuff we're going to do over the next few months is going to depend on emails and people responding and meeting deadlines. So that's my plea. I think Neil probably wants to come and say something as well.
Yeah, I mean, that issue of communication has caused me and Karen a huge number of problems this last couple of weeks, trying to contact people with, you know, just how urgent this completion of getting started and mandatory ongoing is. We were at one point in a position where we were looking at groups closing because they would lose most of the leaders. So it's really important that we get onto this Office 365 system as quickly as we can, because we can't. I'll just put it in perspective. From Karen's perspective, the initial list that we had was 130 leaders in North Manchester who had not completed the mandatory training. You can't be phoning 130 people up quickly. It just doesn't happen. So if we can work on that, please, that would be really, really helpful. Thanks.
Okay, right. Thank you all again for attending. We've got a lot in front of us. Let's all work together and enjoy the rest of the evening and the rest of the week. Bye for now.